get a life, right? I get it.
Emma Chamberlain has been growing in popularity every year since she started YouTube in 2016. But there was a problem.
White girls all over my feed just now finding out that Emma Chamberlain's podcast isn't profound or relatable.
Actually, a few.
Emma Chamberlain's podcast genuinely is just a girl that needs to go to college.
It's honestly hard to watch influencers just be so taken out of the world.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one who stopped listening to Emma Chamberlain's podcast.
The most unrelatable 21-year-old out there.
Is this the downfall of Emma Chamberlain?
They told me I didn't understand the assignment. And I told them they didn't understand life.
Oh my God, what the fuck am I doing?
Emma Chamberlain is undeniably the it girl of the century, one of the first influencers to be invited to major fashion shows, work with major brands like Cartier, Louis Vuitton, Miu Miu.
I'm actually really tired.
Be on the cover of Cosmo, Allure, Vogue, Rolling Stone, hosted the Met Gala twice.
Love ya.
Founded her own coffee company, scored an exclusive Spotify podcast deal as recognized to be one of the most influential voices. And the most impressive part is,
Hi.
she changed the internet as a high school dropout at 16. But being the head of influence of pop culture for over 7 years now,
I started to realize I might have it all wrong.
are we witnessing the beginning to an end to this rare influential power?
Every second sentence, she was trying to sound super relatable, and that just wasn't the case.
Emma has grown out of her old audiences, or rather, her old audiences have grown out of her.
Sometimes she gets a little in her echo chamber.
Now these influencers that I watch that inspire me, I watch their content and I cringe and I do not want that to be me at all. Well, you're wrong.
As a Gen Z female, I can attest that the magnitude of Emma's influence is beyond measures. All my girlfriends and most of my guy friends of all ages know her. Almost all of my acquaintances listen to or have at least heard of Emma's podcast, Anything Goes. And almost all my girlfriends and I have been influenced one way or another by Emma. Inspired by her vlogs or aesthetic, or perhaps even her discussions on Anything Goes. And this is where the internet speculates to be the downfall of Emma Chamberlain. Her podcast.
Another one. Apparently, this is something I enjoy doing.
I wasn't even aware of this until last night in a conversation. The topic of Emma getting hate on her podcast was brought up. And when I searched it up on TikTok, holy crap. All the TikToks are condemning the same thing, and all the comments are saying the same thing. That she should go to college, that she shouldn't act like a philosophical thinker if she isn't one, that she lives in an echo chamber, etc., etc.
Whoa, that's deep. Now that's good.
I get that TikToks aren't supposed to be long analyses, so I want to take some time and dive deeper into the 3 specific reasons that people are criticizing Emma and her podcast.
That's it. That's all I have to say today.
And then in the end, we will analyze if the data point to the actual downfall of Emma Chamberlain.
And so after I farted, I stopped going on my iPad for a second. I put my iPad down and I was like, I don't know if that was just a fart.
Disclaimer, like everyone, I have my own biases and blind spots. Feel free to share how you agree or disagree, but please remember to be kind to each other.
Babe, calm down. Okay, no, it's good. Let me show you something sad.
So I've been at first a curious viewer of Emma Chamberlain in 2019, just fascinated by why everyone was so obsessed with her.
No.
And that slowly progressed into her becoming one of my most frequently watched YouTubers.
Alright guys, here's the deal. Ew, why did I just lick it? They didn't give me a straw. How am I supposed to...
Emma's rise of fame was the perfect timing. A few years before TikTok blew up and when Instagram was still overly perfect and fake.
Nope.
her relatability was a breath of fresh air. No girl on the internet at the time was showing up in a third day unwashed messy bun, seemingly not give a crap about acne, burping and farting to the camera.
I also have gas. Help.
And that is why 6 million people will watch a 12-minute long video called "You Totally Caught Me Making Soup."
I saw English green peas. Okay, how long do I need to cook potatoes before I put them in the soup?
Although with the chaotic and fun energy on screen all the time,
I don't know what to do.
her consistent uploading eventually led to Emma's burnout on YouTube and shifted to podcasting.
Shall we talk about my mental breakdown, or should we just act like it didn't happen?
I'm sick and tired of your bullshit.
I don't care.
I hit rock bottom. I was like, I can't film because every time I try to turn on the camera, I feel like everything I said was cringy. I feel like everything I said was embarrassing. Everything about me I feel is just dumb and stupid. I feel like I could burst out crying and screaming right now. Is it just me, or is it starting to feel like romantic love is just an illusion? It's not real. It's in our imaginations. It's just all a dream. And once we wake up, it's all over. If you're in love romantically, it's because you're delusional. Wake up. Is it just me, or is it starting to feel that way?
Anything Goes is categorized as personal stories and comedy on Spotify. The description says that, quote, Emma prefers to share her thoughts with a microphone rather than a physical human being, so thank God she has a podcast recorded from the comfort of her bed. Emma talks at length about whatever is on her mind every week. Anything really does go on this podcast. Sometimes philosophy, sometimes a random story from 10 years ago, sometimes advice,
Those are just normal boys, my love.
sometimes fun interviews, and sometimes nothing at all. This is important to know because it corresponds directly to some of the criticisms we will be talking about. I've been a listener to her podcast, Anything Goes, ever since she first left YouTube. I don't listen to all the episodes, but here and there tune into any topics that just intrigue me. There were a few days I was doing some deep apartment cleanings, so I listened to the 6 latest episodes. From Only You Know What Is Good For You to I Don't Taste, I Attract, and Is Romantic Love an Illusion? So let us see if the 3 main criticisms toward the pod and Emma are valid.
I do not think it is the environment for anyone to be pondering and questioning tropes, whether love exists or not, in their bed by themselves.
Why Emma Chamberlain is out of favor. First, college and higher education.
I want skills that are not just making videos. Fascinating to me as a creator who is in college right now. Just thinking about all of the future paths that I could go down.
Being someone who's 25 and who has gone to college, I'm like, girl.
Quote, college is calling. Quote, y'all got Emma applying to college right now. Would it be problematic if Emma told everyone that college is a waste of time and money and you do not need an education to succeed in life? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think I've ever come across that sentiment in her videos or podcasts.
I was able to ask myself for the first time, do you want to go to college? I realized not going made me feel light and open and energized, even though that was a really risky decision.
First of all, going to college is a very personal choice, and there are so many different types of intelligence. Going to school is not equivalent to learning. You can go to school without learning or learn without going to school. For someone who does have a bachelor, which I am very grateful for, the most valuable thing I learned at UCLA is not all the econ, the stats defined as systemic knowledge, but the ability to learn and acquire knowledge on my own. The ability to be resourceful and learn anything that piques your genuine interest is far more valuable than being able to code blocks of C++ because hard knowledge is constantly updating. As long as we have the ability to learn, our intelligence is expanding. From my experience of listening to her pod, Emma never claimed herself to be the smartest person in the room. In fact, she is almost sometimes a bit too self-deprecating on her podcast, just as she was in her old videos.
Like, Emma, you're so cringe.
She didn't build a highly successful career purely out of what some people claim to be her privilege of being thin and white and pretty, but she acquired the necessary editing skills to create videos, public speaking skills to host the Met Gala, and shares her curated curiosity about the world, about philosophy, psychology, sociology on the pod as she learns and reflects. As we do, could the quality of the podcast be improved had Emma acquired deeper knowledge of philosophy, psychology, for example, as these are topics she touches on quite a bit recently? For sure, and it is up to her how she wants to obtain that knowledge, whether through college, through masters, or other means. But a lot of these TikToks came across as, oh, I went to college, therefore I have a higher level of thinking and have the right to judge Emma Chamberlain. It just sounds very elitist and judgmental instead of being constructively helpful. And side note, there are way too many people I know from the Ivies who lack the emotional intelligence and self-awareness that Emma Chamberlain has. It is often easier to judge than to do the work yourself. My biggest gripe with this college comment is the other comments that ensued. Quote, that's why we love Brittany Broski. She went to college and is so good at articulating her feelings. Quote, Brittany Broski is the only solo podcast that is valid. First off, Brittany Broski is an amazing creator. I haven't listened to her podcast yet, but I find her a really inspiring creator to look up to. My question is, why does the internet constantly feel the need to compare women against women? It's not like only one comedic female solo podcaster can exist. Brittany Broski and Emma Chamberlain are two unique, intelligent, and creative women. Using Brittany's education to put Emma down is not a very kind move. Even though some of the feedbacks do come with good intention, shaming someone for their education level, or worse, degrading someone through someone else's education level, is just immature and unkind. Second, Echo Chamberlain. Emma is losing popularity because she is becoming quote-unquote out of touch with a lot of the followers who grew up watching her.
It's 2016. I'm 15 years old. And for the first time, I'm realizing that life is challenging.
For someone who rose to fame through her relatability, this could seem like a screaming warning sign of downfall.
An influencer who dropped out of high school to pursue fame isn't relatable.
Where am I gonna go right now? It's a Wednesday. I don't give a fuck.
Is this the inevitable price to pay with blowing up the internet and becoming the voice of Gen Z female for the past 5 years? Maybe, but if we really think about it, is it realistic to expect any human to stay consistently the same as they were 7 years ago?
Very mature, very wise.
I'm crying because this doesn't match my personality at all.
No, let alone a celebrity status influencer like Emma.
I was 15 and wearing PacSun skinny jeans. Obviously, I had a lot of things to figure out.
She's not going to be the same high school girl in a messy bun who films on an iPhone and pulls all-nighters, just like how her viewers grew up, so does she. Which means she naturally does not have the same type of relatability as she used to with her past core audience.
Back to normal old Emma. Yay!
Her living in an Architectural Digest home, mingling with celebrities, and always welcome to the most in-season high fashion couture might not create the same type of connection with all the girls who started watching her when she blew up. Emma has grown out of her old audiences, or rather, her old audiences have grown out of her, as they are no longer the teenage girls who were similar to Emma. Most of them would have gone to college, some are still in college, and some would have graduated by now, entering the 9-to-5 corporate world. Spending an afternoon in your bed in your $1 million home, contemplating about I don't chase, I attract, won't be the typical life of a 20-something-year-old.
And I have nothing to do. And I'm by myself. And it's 10 o'clock.
So does Emma Chamberlain live in an echo chamber?
And it's all about the small wins in life.
Sure does. And to some extent, we all do. College itself can be an echo chamber too. Then you graduate and grow out of it and enter a new echo chamber of people in your professional field. When I was working in finance, that was an echo chamber. Everyone thought it was normal to work 15-hour days and 8 hours on weekends. As I'm working in tech, also an echo chamber. So is my career as a creator. And with the rising power of our social media algorithm, it is not going to get better. We are constantly served content that confirm our opinions and taste. So yes, not just Emma Chamberlain, but all of us need to constantly reflect if we are restricted in a bubble with a limiting vision. I know I certainly fall into blind spots often, and a way to tackle this is to find ways to exchange ideas with people outside of your normal, regular circle of influence through social activities, books, or, you guessed it, podcasts. Since Emma's echo chamber is different from my own, I personally do benefit sometimes from gaining an alternative perspective from tuning into her pod. It's challenging to have diverse opinions and perspectives on a solo podcast, so if you want a pod with ideas bounce off of each other, there are also so many options out there. There are so many podcasts out there. Feel free to comment your podcast recommendations below. I'd love to check them out.
Never hurt nobody.
The third reason of why Emma is falling out of favor, quote, it's a whole lot of nothing.
Loneliness will forever have a hold on us. We're going to be lonely, no matter whether or not we like it or not. You know what I mean? And so, at the end of the day,
regarding the value that Emma is putting out on her podcast, people are pointing out to how she is falling short. Quote, it is wild how she says absolutely nothing at all. As a listener, I do notice that she goes in circles sometimes because she's speaking without a script and is just thinking out loud. And I do notice that Emma likes to spend a lot of time defining the terms of the topics she wants to discuss
In the Oxford Dictionary.
which some people find annoying and unnecessary. Yes, sometimes I do find it a little slow and the process taking a little long because we have to go through the definition. But from an alternative perspective, I think it's a respectful way to just not assume that everyone has the same understanding of a word or a phrase. Is this the most highly produced podcast with deep revelations and years of peer-reviewed research? No. It is a girl in her bedroom talking out loud. Some people find it entertaining, some find it helpful, and some find it a boring waste of time.
You're laughing at me at home.
It makes a lot of sense to me that Emma started as a vlogger, so the capture the moment as is essence is still very much stylistically present in her podcast. In a sense, it's just her audio and video diary.
Listen, I'm disappointed in everybody as the human race.
Could she do more research, write a better script, invite tons of guests? Absolutely. But will it still be Emma Chamberlain? Maybe, maybe not. And the discrepancy between Emma's style and what popular culture wants is the perfect segue into a discussion of the big question. Does this signal the downfall of Emma Chamberlain? Is she going out of style?
Everyone wake up. It's not real.
Do it girls go out of style? The disappointment with the quality of her podcast, the quality of the discussion, stems from an almost unrealistic expectation from a deep parasocial relationship, demanding that your favorite creator who you followed at 16 as your comfort creator who perhaps showed you the way of life still be the source of all truth in your 20s is both unrealistic and delusional. Just because Emma is talking about philosophical and psychological topics does not mean she is suddenly the Gen Z female version of Friedrich Nietzsche or Carl Jung. There are other sources for that. From my view, her podcast stayed very true to what the description said. It's just anything that goes. And quote, sometimes it's nothing at all. It's not the Bible for how to navigate adulthood for those who grew up with Emma, and it is okay to grow out of your favorite creator. Looking for ideological expertise from your favorite comfort influencer who blew up when she was 15 is a refusal to change and grow. A lot of these non-constructive and even the constructive criticizers need to just follow new people to follow other than the ones they grew up with. There are more than just 7 people to get your ideas from. The internet is your oyster. With the core Emma fans growing up, does this mean the end to the Emma Chamberlain effect?
I actually need to fucking stop.
In my view, I don't think so. Just because some people grew out of Emma does not mean she won't appeal to other people, especially a new wave of teenagers who look up to her, or a different group of audience could relate to her. Could Emma Chamberlain benefit from the more constructive criticisms toward her and her podcast? Sure thing, but in my view, what makes Emma the influencer is how she always decides how to set the standard instead of following it. And whether she shifts her podcast style or remain the same, her influence on pop culture and fashion doesn't just fade because of a wave of hate on TikTok. She may not be your relatable teenage girl anymore, but she is still the iconic Emma Chamberlain. But do you think this is a downfall to Emma Chamberlain? Comment below, I'd love to know. Appreciate you tuning in. If you're new here, I make a lot of commentaries about pop culture, so check them out and I will see you next week.